So today we are going to start our notes on coordinate rules for reflections. Okay, and in our warm-up we talked about how reflections have to do with mirror images. Okay, so if you reflect something, you look at your reflection in the mirror, you're looking at a mirror image of yourself. All right, so you have to remember that nothing is going to change about the overall shape of the picture that we're going to be reflecting, but its direction that it's facing will be. First and foremost, we are going to reflect this flag over the y-axis. I want you to get one of your colored pencils that's on the table, and I want you to trace in the y-axis. Okay, so remember the y-axis goes up and down. So I'm going to get one of my colors, and I'm going to go down the y-axis in blue. So here's the whole y-axis, extremely straight line. Use your ruler if you have one. So now we are going to reflect this flag across the y-axis. So what is that going to make our y-axis? If we were maybe to fold along that line, then it would make our y-axis the line of symmetry. That's exactly right. Okay, so in that top line, our y-axis will be our line of symmetry. Very good. So I want you to imagine, I don't know if you ever did this in elementary school, but if we were to outline our flag in yellow paint and fold along the line of symmetry, then we are going to see that exact picture, but it's going to be roughly, the flag pole itself is going to be kind of facing this direction, right? Because it's going to be opposite of how it's facing now. It's not a translation. We're not scooting it around, but we are totally reflecting the shape itself. Okay. So right now, what quadrant is our pre-image located in? Well, our pre-image is in the first quadrant, or quadrant 1. Okay. And once we reflect it across the line of symmetry, which quadrant is it going to be located in? Well, remember we count counterclockwise, so this is going to be quadrant 2. So it's going to end up in quadrant 2 over there. Okay, so now, just as if we were reflecting or folding across that line, it needs to be equal distances, right? So each of these points needs to be equal distances to the line of symmetry. So for example, B is 2 units away from the line of symmetry. So on the opposite side, B prime, the image needs to be also 2 units away. So here's B, 1, 2, so I need to count over 1, 2, and so now that point right there is going to be my B prime location. Okay, let me get my pen set here. There we go. All right, B prime. All right, how far is C away from the line of symmetry? Well, C is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So C prime, is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away from the line of symmetry also. Now, you can also see, just like when we've done any of our other transformations, B and C are away from each other by 1, 2, 3 units. So it makes sense that B prime and C prime are also going to be 3 units away from each other. All right, next let's do E. E is 1, 2, 3 units away from the line of symmetry. So now E is going to be 1, 2, 3. It's going to pop over here, and that's going to be our E prime point. And then last but not least is D. And D is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units away. So D prime is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units also away from the line of symmetry on the other side. Now let's connect our points. Use your ruler to make the lines as straight as you can. I'm not using a ruler, so my lines are not going to be straight, as you can see. Whoops. I also want to talk about A. So is A going to move at all? No, A is not going to move at all, but why? Because it's on the origin? Well, not necessarily. What if I had a point down here at 0, -3? Would this point move? No. That's right, because it's on the line of symmetry. So if you have a point on the line of symmetry, imagine, again, that that's on the fold. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to magically appear somewhere else. If it's on the line of symmetry, it's going to stay on the line of symmetry. So that's why A is going to become A prime at the origin 0, 0. Very good. All right, so then we're going to draw our flagpole. And as you can see, now my lines, again, are not straight, but you can see that, that overall the image is a mirror image if we fold along the line of symmetry. All right, now let's compare our points and write our rule. I'm going to pick C. And C is 5, 4. C prime is -5, 4. Okay, so what happened to the x value? Well, it still has the same absolute value. It's still the same distance from 0, but it is now negative, and my y value did not change at all. Okay, so it's -x, y. All right, now we're going to actually skip that part because I want to just talk strictly about actual rotations. Reflections. So now we're going to reflect over the x-axis, So get a new color on your table, a new colored pencil, and now we're going to outline our x-axis. Okay, so that's the axis that goes from left, to right. Very hard to draw a straight line with this little pen. I'm going to erase this part so we don't get confused. What's the x-axis and what's not the x-axis. Awesome. All right, so if we're going to now fold along this line, what does that make our x-axis? Well, it's still the line of symmetry, just like last time. Okay, whatever you're folding along is your line of symmetry. That's not an M. Having a hard time writing today. There we go. All right, so what quadrant is our pre-image located in? Well, it's still in the exact same quadrant, so it's still in quadrant 1. And if we're going to fold along this line, we know that it cannot be in quadrant 2, so that eliminates that option. But, which quadrant are we going to end up in? 3 or 4? 4, that's exactly right. So do you remember how to write 4 in Roman numerals? Very good, IV. Okay, remember that V equals 5, and so if the I comes before it, we are subtracting. Very good. All right, so now we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to reflect across that line of symmetry, our red line. Okay, so B is how far away from the line of symmetry? Well, B is 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to count down 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's my B prime. E prime and D prime both are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's E prime. D prime is going to be 6, but on the line x equals 6 right here. So I'm going to go down here. And then C. C is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There is C prime. All right, we're going to connect our lines. Actually, look how straight these lines are. Oh, I think I spoke too soon. Again, A is going to become A prime because A is on the line of symmetry, so it's going to stay exactly where it is. So nothing's going to happen to it. But now let's see what happened to our points. Okay, let's pick E this time. E is at 3, 6. E prime is at 3, -6. So what happened to the x value? Well, nothing changed, and you can't really see it on my screen, so I'm going to write it up here. But this is what's written on your paper also. So it's going to be, oops, sorry, wrong point. I want to write x because the x value does not change, but what happens to the y value? Well, the y value becomes opposite, becomes the negative sign, okay? Which makes sense because we didn't move anywhere along the x-axis. We didn't move side to side. All we did was move down, okay? we reflected it across the x-axis. All right, let's do a practice problem together really quick. All right, so now I'm going to reflect across the line x equals -2. Now remember, we talked about this at the very beginning of class, that x is equal to, when you have an x equals line, that is a vertical line, okay, which means up and down. A y equals line is a horizontal line, which means side, to side, okay? So remember also that if you're going through an x point, that means that we have to go through a point on the x-axis, okay? So we can't go through this point right here because this point is not on the x-axis, it's on the y-axis. So instead, we need to pick this point right here, which is on the x-axis, which is x equals -2. Okay, so I'm going to use my non-ruler, but please use a ruler if you have one. And now we're going to count, instead to the y-axis, we're going to count to this line, x equals, -2. All right, so D is how far from the line of symmetry. Well, D is 1 away, so it's going to be 1 away on the other side. So this is D prime. A is 1, 2, 3, 4 away. Notice that it's 4 away from the line of symmetry, but 6 away from the y-axis. We don't care about the y-axis right now, only that it's a measurement. We want to count to the line of symmetry. Okay, that's why it's so important that you draw in that line so that you remember that's what I'm counting to, not to the y-axis. Okay, so we're 4 away from the line of symmetry, so I'm going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 away from the line of symmetry, but on the other side. All right, C is also 1 away, so it's going to go right beneath D prime, and B is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 away from, from the line of symmetry. Okay, then connect your lines. It does not look like the shape because my lines are not straight, but alas, the points are perfectly symmetrical based on our line of symmetry. Okay, go ahead and write down the coordinates below, and that's going to be similar to your practice worksheets as well.